Hi, folks. Sam Seidel here with the Weekly Rant, the weekly update from Unplanned, the show about cities and how they work. This is a relatively new segment that we're just trying to get more content up with what's the latest thoughts passing in front of the transom and the latest news, at least news in my brain. So that's what this is all about. I think we might have some quick guests on in the future, but the idea is very short format. Just get stuff up and out. And I'm actually, as I'm doing more of these, I'm realizing it's actually very hard to do. It's much easier to do, in some ways, to do a long interview format where you can let the other person talk. Speaking of which, we've got a lot of editing to do. We still got the James Minor, and we went to a quick event yesterday, which I'll tell you briefly about in a second. If you like this content, remember to hit subscribe. Come back for more. Helps grow the viewership and get the topic of cities out more publicly. Today is April 23rd, which also happens to be Shakespeare's birthday. So, William Shakespeare the Bard, born on this date in 1564, which is a very, very long time ago. Shakespeare is famous for his connection to cities, in that his plays were put on in the Globe Theatre on the South Bank in London. And he is also famous for the quote, "What is the city if not the people?" or something there similar from the play Coriolanus, Act 3, Scene 1. Why do I know that quote? I've never read Coriolanus, actually. But I know that quote because I did read this book many years ago. Ed Glazer, professor, I think at the Kennedy School, New York City kid, I believe, from Google. Wrote that. I'm sure he's written some other books now by now, but this is a 2011 book, The Triumph of the Cities, of the City, which is an interesting thought. It came out after the financial crisis, but before COVID, and he quotes Shakespeare in that book. Um, we're not going to talk about Shakespeare today. We are going to talk just very briefly about some other thoughts that are in my head. One of which is that the state of Massachusetts, I think alone, mostly because of the events that happened here, has been celebrating Revolution 250, which is the 250th anniversary of the start of the American Revolution, which actually happened 250 years ago last Saturday. Today is Wednesday. So 250 years ago on Saturday, past, the battles of Lexington and Concord took place. And every year they do a reenactment where British regular troops arrive on Lexington Green and the Minutemen face off against them. And as it turns out, I've never made it out to one of those. I've tried a couple of times, but I've never gotten there early enough. The actual time of day is about 5 a.m. And then it runs until about 6:30 in the morning, and I've missed it. But what was interesting this time was that I was actually out there around 6:30 in my car driving past. Tried to get to Lexington, which you could get into, but parking was impossible. And then I thought, well, I'll go on to Concord. Concord was the next stop in all this, the Old North Bridge, the shot heard around the world. And the state police had basically closed off Route 2, which I can understand why they did it for crowd control. They think they were going to have 100,000 people. I don't think they ended up getting anywhere near that, but it seemed a bit excessive. You literally could not drive into the center of Concord, which kind of raises the question. If you throw an event, but you can't actually get to it easily, you could get there on a bicycle, but it's hard from Cambridge, Boston to get there on a bicycle at 6 in the morning. Um, what is the event? Which leads me to my second thought, which is yesterday was Earth Day, another celebration. And this time I went down to the State House, where Extinction Rebellion was putting on a little play and a little demonstration and a little protest against the destruction of our climate through fossil-based fuels. It included a little play put on by Julia Hanson and her mother, and it was very well done. It was billionaires versus butterflies. It was incredibly sweet. And then they had their die-in, which they do every. I've seen it happen a couple times where people just lie down on the ground. There's a sort of silence. Somebody was yesterday was playing a flute, and there's about 5 minutes of silence. It's just a time of reflection and thought. It's really very beautiful, but it did raise the question, and this is a topic for some future unplanned about contested space. These are public spaces. This was actually on the steps of the State House, so it definitely was part of the State House. It wasn't even public sidewalk, and it's where the right to petition really began. I think there was the written right, but also the public right to demonstrate your free speech on topics that you felt were important. While we're on the topic of climate change, there's a lot that cities can do. And as I look at the MIT website, I see that cities are home to 55% of the global population, or 4.2 billion people, and they are responsible for up to 70% of human caused fossil fuel emissions. And therefore, according to this website, on the DUSP, that's the Urban Studies and Planning homepage, they and therefore have a crucial role in addressing climate change across all sectors. And so this is a topic that we should return to here on Unplanned. I think with that, so I don't go on just endlessly, just in single format, I'm going to stop myself from talking. And you will see more of these. This is the weekly rant. That's the format we like. So see you soon. Remember to subscribe for more stuff, and we'll see you soon.